Howdy y'all. Today I wanted to do a quick autofocus test with the Nikon Z9 in the video mode. There's a lot of videos that talk about how it does for photos, for action and wildlife and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like there's not a whole lot about how it does with video. So I just kind of wanted to demonstrate that. It does have human face and eye detect, animal face and eye detect, as well as vehicle detect. So I'm gonna do 3 different tests. The first one being with my lovely wife here, just make sure and see how it responds to her face as she moves around. Then we're gonna do a second test with our dog. She will move around plenty, so that will be a good test. And then lastly, we're gonna do a quick little test with the truck to just kind of see what I can, if I can challenge it enough to try to see if it'll jump around or actually stick onto the vehicle the way that I'd like it to. And as far as the actual setup that I have right now for the Z9, it is on firmware version 3.01, which is the latest one at the time of this filming. And I'm also using the 50mm 1.8 lens. I have it all the way open at 1.8 to really make sure that if it does misfire, it's obvious. So I'm gonna try to keep that as difficult as possible, so to speak. I also have an ND filter on it so that we can cut down that light and keep the shutter speed at the 180 rule and all of that. So I'm trying to keep this as similar to how I actually shoot on a day-to-day basis, but also give you guys a good demonstration on how accurate the autofocus is. So we'll be doing some pixel peeping back on the computer. But with that said, let's get the test going. And now here we are in Premiere Pro. We're gonna go ahead and look at how it looked on the screen and also do some pixel peeping on the actual footage. So yeah, here we go. So this is the Atomos Ninja screen recording. So this is what I was seeing on the back of the camera. Obviously there's different ways to set up this layup. This is just what I had for this particular video. You can see all the settings there. The only thing I really want to point out is that here, if you look at the top, I was on full-time autofocus in the auto area AF focus mode and or focus area, and with the human face and eye detect on. So we're going to go ahead and just play through the footage a little bit here, and I want you to pay attention to the white box that is around her eye right now, as well as it'll jump to her face from time to time. But even at about 15 to 20 feet away, it's locking on her eyes just fine, even here when she covers them. So yeah, I mean, it's doing a really great job. Jumped out, she's gonna jump back in, boom, locks right on, and it's just tracking it really well. And this is just kind of the straight out of the, I haven't done anything to this screen recording footage. It's just exactly what I was seeing on the back. Keep in mind that, you know, the white box is giving you just its best real-time indication of where it's focusing. It's not always gonna be perfect. And you'll notice right here, it does do a little focus breathing. It's super fast, but it locks onto her really well. So yeah, so now we'll go ahead and take a quick look at some pixel peeping here. I'll try to make this quick. So let's go ahead, once again, make it full screen. And this is only 4K footage, so I'm only gonna go into 400%. And it looks really good. She's completely in focus. The background is clearly out of focus. Again, this was between 15 to 20 feet away. I should have measured it, but I'm not entirely sure. But either way, at 1.8, I would definitely say that's in focus. I think it did a really great job. So moving right along here, we're just gonna let it kind of play through. So now you can really see, and again, all I've done here is applied the log to Rec 709 LUT. I didn't do any kind of color grading or sharpening. Right there, we can see it went out of focus, it came back. Look at it close again. Look at those beautiful eyes, but right in focus, awesome. Maybe a little bit of motion blur, but that's what we're looking for when it comes to video. So that's exactly what we're wanting, and that beautiful bokeh in the background. Some more spinning, staying focused on her. You can see the background slowly come in and out of focus, which tells us that it is in fact tracking her face, keeping that in focus. And then right here, she's gonna go back and we're gonna do that part where she jumps back into the screen. So when she leaves the screen here, the last time the camera knew it was about 20 feet away. And now she's gonna jump in and has to immediately try to find her. And it does a really good job. We can see here that she is in fact in focus again. Good pausing moment there. But anyways, and then we'll go ahead and just back up right here just to honestly show you what I'm talking about. She's in focus, she's in focus. But then for a second here, she was out of focus. It tried to come back for her, right? So if you look back at this bush in the background, it's still focused on that. It's taking a second to realize that she's now in the scene, and you can see it coming up to it, and then it goes a little too far, and then boom, nails it right there. So anyways, again, not perfect, but that whole demonstration of her jumping around and being crazy, it followed her really well. No, there wasn't other people in the image, and I know that that can definitely make things more complicated. It did not make that test this time. I just wanted to show that it is in fact able to track a face really well as it moves in all directions. So I hope that was proof of that. But onto the animal face detect, which is what we're doing next. All right, so now we're going to test with old Squeaky Pants over here. She gets very excited. But yeah, so we're gonna switch it over to the animal eye detect and face detect. And I'm also gonna put vibration reduction on because I'm gonna be hand holding it. And let's see how it goes. And here we are back in Premiere Pro looking at the Ninja footage with the dog. And you can look around real quick, but I did keep all the settings the same. The only thing that I changed was over here on the left is I have vibration reduction on. And if you look at the top, I have turned on the animal autofocus setting. So it should be looking more for animals over anything else. But all the settings are the same. But I'll be honest, right here at the beginning, you're gonna see it does struggle a little bit. The box does a good job of tracking her. It knows that she's there. Obviously it's not picking up her face, but it knows that she's the animal here. So let's go ahead and let it play. But right here, you can see it just really struggles. And you'll see in a second when we pixel peep that it really struggled right there, which is a little disappointing, but it is what it is. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, and this is just really what happened. But here, right, it's a little bit off her eye, but it definitely knows that it's there. And then as she leaves the screen here, boom, still tracking her, got her face, get a little bit closer, and it jumps to eye. It knows now where her two eyes are. Again, you'll see in a second, it actually is focused on her eyes. So don't always trust these boxes. Sometimes they might not be accurate. You're using them as a reference to know what the camera's trying to do. It is a little bit frustrating because you really are trusting the camera, but just do more than one take. Don't just trust the camera, any camera you're using. Really try to make sure that you have multiple different takes to work with and things like that. But anyway, so here we go, still tracking her, and she runs off here. Now at this point, right about here, she's easily 25, maybe 30 feet away. I know it might not really look like it, but I promise she's pretty far away. And again, it's more on her ear and her little snout there, but it knows where she is. And it's not just getting her whole body, it has an idea of where her face is. So doing a good job there, and tracks her again, boom, still knows where her face is. We'll go back real quick, and not perfectly on her face, but knows more of a detailed thing than just her entire body in general or anywhere else on the screen. It wasn't jumping around everywhere. But then here we go. We're gonna deal with more motion blur here. Let's just start out the clip, and we can see here that she is in focus. We're definitely going for more of a reasonable focus at this point. But even if you kind of look at the background here up in the right, you can definitely see that's more out of focus than she is. But here's where the problem started, right? So as she comes running up here, you actually will see she never leaves the frame. Her face doesn't, right? Almost right there. And I think because she got really close to the edge of the frame, the camera lost it. Whenever you get really close to the edge of the frame, it's gonna have more trouble keeping up with it because the focus points don't actually go to the very edge. They actually stop a little bit before that. But it is a little disappointing because as you can see here, it clearly lost focus on her. Not completely obliterated, but not necessarily a usable part of the clip at this point. But then you'll see, boom, she came a little bit right there, but now we're back in focus, right? Yeah, it's a motion blur, but you can definitely see that she's in focus. There's a screen grab right there. Look at that cutie, So it's figuring it out. It's definitely getting there, but it definitely struggled at that point. But here we go. She left the frame again, and if we go frame by frame, she's still in focus here. So we'll go back real quick. She left the frame, boom, 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 motion blur, and then bam, she's in focus. So it figured it out. So sometimes I don't know why, it just Sometimes it's not gonna hit every single time, but that was a tough shot and it nailed focus right there. So that's an awesome shot. Really proud of it there. And she pretty much stays in focus the rest of it. I get a little bit closer here. She likes to play keep away, so she's gonna run off to the right here like you just saw a little bit ago. But again, really far away, so let's go ahead. She stops right here, boom. Let's go ahead and do a pixel peep. And again, she's pretty far away at this point. I don't know exactly how far, but yeah, in focus. We even got the tail kind of frozen. Like, this isn't a bad shot. This is 4K 60. I mean, I'm pretty happy with this. Again, no post-production sharpening or anything like that. Just the LUT was applied. So yeah, I mean, looks good and pretty impressed. And then she'll bounce over here to the left again and pretty much the same thing. Boom, playing with her ball, having a good time. And yeah, pretty much in focus. So definitely struggled more here, but it does a good job. It definitely is tracking it. It might not hit every single time, but you're gonna have to tweak the settings and really think about your scene, your lens choices and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, enough with that. We're gonna now hop on to the last thing where we're using the truck and see how it does for that. Well, we have the sun coming out more for this last test, which is gonna be the truck coming up the hill here. And we know that it can track it just fine if nothing's in the way. So what I've done to make it a little bit harder, that you're gonna see here in a second, is I'm actually shooting through these wooden posts, fence type things here. And we're gonna see how well it can track as it gets blocked, you know, by something in the foreground. So let's get it started. And for the last time, here we are back in Premiere Pro. Again, all the settings are the same, but up here at the top, you can see that I have switched it over to the vehicle detect. Now, I actually ended up having to do this one 3 different times because it actually was struggling. And this is just part of being a shooter and working with what you got to figure out how to put the camera in the best possible situation. So as you can see right over here on the very left middle by the green line is the truck. And I actually did this intentionally. I kept it out of focus because I wanted to see how quickly it would grab it, you know, and everything like that. So we're gonna go ahead and just play it here and you'll see right about here, boom, gets the box and it does get it, right? But then it goes behind this and it loses it and it focuses on the foreground and it doesn't, you know, it kind of goes back to it. I would say that's back in focus. You can see the dog sticking the head out the window and it goes by. So I was a little frustrated, so I decided to move it, see if I can get it going again. And this time I did actually decide to go ahead and make sure it was focused before getting started. And you'll see in a second that it definitely is in focus over there. It's actually pretty impressive. But anyways, so it started to come and it's tracking it. You can see it, boom. And right here, you can see this time it lost it, but it's still in focus. It didn't focus on the foreground. So again, you know, it's just, sometimes the cameras do funny things, and this is part of why trusting autofocus is a risk. So like I said a little bit ago, make sure that you're doing more than one take, because no matter how good your camera is, it's not always gonna hit. So anyways, boom, grabs it again, we're good to go. And this last one, very similar, hangs on to it. But this time it was in focus, but as you could see, the box wasn't around it. So it grabs it, and it loses it, grabs it, but doesn't focus on the foreground, but it does a little bit here at the end. So out of all 3 of those takes, 3 different things happened, and each time I moved the camera's position. So just a good thing to keep in mind, that even if the camera is doing a good job, you never know when all of a sudden it might do something weird. All right, so now we'll watch them back. Again, only the LUT has been applied, no sharpening, but here we can see it's out of focus. And as she starts to drive the truck forward, and finds it. Okay, let's do a little bit of pixel peep in here. And it is in focus. Remember, this is 4K. She's, I don't even know how far, maybe 100 feet away at this point. So I would say that's a win. But let's see what it does here as it goes behind, right? Loses it and then kind of gets it back here. I would say that's acceptable in my opinion. You do have the motion blur, but it's definitely not perfectly in focus. It'd be up to you whether or not you could actually use that. And then it kind of gets it over here on the side, but not really, because you can see right here that these posts are actually in focus. So that it did not get it on that one. But then we'll do round 2 again, right here, that far away. She was stationary. It's definitely in focus. compared to, the foreground here where this is definitely out of focus. And she starts coming. This was probably the best take overall as far as focus goes. I know the highlights are really blown out, don't judge me. But anyways, boom, right there. So you can even see her driving. We'll probably go a few frames here. You'll see the dog. Still in focus, still in focus. Other than the motion blur, I would definitely say that's in focus when you compare it to the background over here and this foreground right here on the left. So yeah, I would definitely say that. Did a good job. And we'll go ahead and just watch this last one through again. This one wasn't focused at first, grabbed it right about here, but it kept it the whole time. Not a whole lot of focus breathing going on, but it does lose it right there at the end, which is pretty frustrating. But again, and I will say this, that personally, I'm not super familiar with shooting vehicles, so it could be some user error on my part. And obviously I was trying to make it more difficult by putting this fence in between the truck and the camera, and the fence did its job. It definitely made it more difficult. But anyways, hopefully that's some honest, real world watching that happen, seeing that again, when it is in focus, it truly is, but it doesn't always do it. So anyways, that's it for me here at the computer. I'll send it back to Desert Aaron now. That's gonna wrap up this video. I do hope you found it helpful. I hope that seeing the real world application and the testing and the pixel peeping was beneficial. Maybe it gave you some confidence to actually invest in the camera. Maybe it helps debunk some of the things that you've heard about it. Hopefully it just gave you some insight into how accurate it is as a video camera. So thank you for watching. If you have any other comments or concerns or any other video ideas, please let me know in the comments below. I love to talk to people and go back and forth. And yeah, so until the next one, see ya.